Welcome back to the Adobe After Effects tutorial with Mr. Will. Thanks for joining me again. In this segment, we're going to talk about trim paths. What are trim paths and why the heck do you even need to know what it is? Trim paths it is the essential for animation of lines and shapes in After Effects. Why do you need to know that? Because if you want to become a graphic animator, if you want to become a logo, you want to get into logo animations, you want to create custom presentations, you want to add custom cool overlays to cinema, social media videos, and more, you're definitely going to want to know what trim paths are, right? It's the basis to animating lines and shapes in After Effects, all right? So let's jump into it and let's get some visual examples of what we're talking about. Let's play around with it. That way you understand and you can have the confidence to take your content creation to the next level. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into After Effects, shall we? So once you create a new project, you want to come and create a new composition. All right, I like the composition settings, so I'm just going to go ahead and click OK. So we're talking about animating lines and shapes. Okay, so let's start off with animating a line. But before we get started, everyone, let's come up to the Windows tab, scroll down to Workspace, come on over and scroll down to Reset All Panels to Save Layout. Why are we doing this? We're doing this that way we're all looking and learning from the same interface. All right, so if you didn't catch what I said, come up to Windows, scroll down to Workspace, come down to Reset All Panels to Save Layout, and bada bang, we are looking at the same interface. So let's get started. We're talking about animating lines and shapes. So let's start off with the line. To create a line, let's use the pen tool. And the pen tool is located in the upper left side of the interface in Adobe After Effects. And I'm going to click on the pen tool. How do you know it's clicked? Because it's highlighted in blue and the icon on the screen is a tip of a pen, okay, like an old school pen. So let's go ahead and create our first point. So I'm just going to go ahead and click, right? And then I want to create a line. So I'm going to come on to the other side of the composition. And before I click the mouse again, I'm going to hold Shift and I'm going to click again. Holding Shift tells After Effects that I want to create a straight line. All right, so that's how you see the straight line. If you do not see your color, if you don't see the stroke line or pattern, like the line filled in, that is because you need to come up to Stroke, come on down to solid color, click on solid color and hit OK, and you should see your stroke line now appear. Okay, you can determine the thickness of that by the pixel numbers. You can thicken it or you can make it thinner. You can just do it to your liking. Okay, so I'm just going to keep it around 27 just for the sake of this tutorial. All right, so here we have a line created. Okay, so let's start with this line. It's a boring line that we just created. Yay, fun. Let's go ahead and animate this thing. Okay, so let's take a look at how do we animate this line. So what you want to do is come down to the timeline panel where all effects are applied in After Effects. We want to find the shape layer. Okay, we're going to click to the left of it and we're going to see the switches to the right. You'll see contents right here. You'll see the shape 1, you'll see transform. All right, under the shapes you'll see stroke. If you click under the stroke pattern, you'll see a bunch of options appear, and the ones that you want to look at is taper. All right, what taper does, so just say I want to taper my start length. All right, so tapering is just kind of like fine tuning the edges on how your line is going to start. Okay, so I like it there. So this is the taper effect. So the end length point, yeah, let's taper it like right there. Um, okay, so I like the way my line looks. The So I'm gonna come back up to the top. Okay, so what I want to do is now we want to add a trim path. Okay, so I got the line looking how I want it to look. Okay, so how I did that is I came to the layer, I clicked on that layer, I expanded the layer, and I came down to contents. I clicked shape, I expanded stroke, I came down to taper, all right, and then I tapered the edges and I set keyframes for those because I want After Effects to remember this start and end point before the animation gets started is already tapered. Okay, if I want to add dashes, okay, adding dashes, it's a cool effect. You see what it does? It add dashes. So my line now looks like dashes. I kind of like that effect, so I'm gonna keep it like that. Okay, so taper and dashes are two effects, two cool effects that you're gonna want to learn to play with. All right, so let's get back to our lesson. Let's add a trim path. So under the shape layer, once you expand it, you come to the right, you'll see the effect switches. You want to come down to add. You want to click on that add, and you want to scroll down to trim paths. Okay, you should see trim paths now populate here as a tab underneath shape 1. So let's open up the trim paths. You should see 3 stopwatches that says start, end, and offset. All right, so this is telling After Effects when we want to start the effect and end the effect. And when you offset the effect, basically that's just saying, basically that kind of, in a nutshell, you'll see your line offset. So if you have one solid line, it'll sort of break the line into two moving individual lines, all right? So instead of seeing just one, offsetting it will kind of break the line down into equals or to like it'll like break the tail off of the full line, giving it another cool effect. I can show you better than I can tell you. So here we go. So I have everything set. So if we're looking here and we're in the trim paths and we see that by default the start set at 0 and the end is set at 100%, and we see a straight line. Well, we don't want to see this straight line starting off. Okay, we want it just to be a blank canvas. We want the line just to kind of animate and appear across the screen. Okay, so I want this line to go left to right across the screen. So let's make this make sense. If I take the endpoint down to 0, it brings everything back to my left. Okay, the start point is already set to 0. So let me bring it back all the way down to 0%. I'm going to keyframe that at the start of my line. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move a few keyframes forward. And we're going to start animation. I'm going to increase my line, my start line value up to just say 46%. You increase it to your liking. I'm going to move forward just a few keyframes, and then I'm going to increase my end value. Okay, why do you want to increase the end value? Because you don't want your line to look like one infinite line that never ends across the screen. It ultimately look like a, the loading bar when the computer's loading and it's almost fully loaded, or it's loading and just see just one full bar. You want the line to have a endpoint that way it can eventually move across the screen. Okay, so that's why you want to toggle the endpoint. So once I set an endpoint, I'm going to move forward a little bit more. I'm going to increase my line value again. All right, I'm going to move forward a few more keyframes and increase my end value. Move forward a few more keyframes, increase my start value again. Move forward a couple keyframes and increase my end value. All right. Hold on. Reset to 100%. Okay. So let's play that back. As you see, we have animation. All right. So how do we get this to look a little bit smoother? All right. And how do we change the speed up on this animation? What we can do, let's click the keyframes. I'm going to hold shift and then click the rest. I'm going to come on the keyframe. I'm going to right click on the keyframe. I'm going to scroll down to keyframe assistant, and you're going to come up to easy ease in. Okay. Once you modify the keyframes, you should see the keyframes shape change into like arrows pointing forward. Okay. So let's take a look at what ease in did to our animation. Okay, kind of gave it different speeds. It looked a little bit more organic. Okay, so let's continue now. So we have a line created. Let's create a different type of shape. All right, so I came up. You're gonna come up to the rectangle tool. You're gonna come down and you're gonna select the ellipse tool. All right, so with the ellipse tool, I'm going to come here and create a circle. So you create a circle, you hold shift. All right, and you see I have a very perfect circle created. All right, so let's get this circle to where it's animating as well. All right, so I'm going to find the ellipse tool here under the shape layer. All right, so I see it right here. I'm going to expand it and I'm going to add a trim path. All right, so I come and click trim path. I expand the trim path. I follow the same steps as I would with the line. I bring it all the way down to 0, the endpoint down to 0. Okay, that's my start point. I start keyframes. I'm going to move forward a few keyframes. I'm going to increase the start value. All right, I'm going to move a few keyframes forward. I'm going to increase the end value. I'm going to move a few more keyframes forward. I'm going to increase the start value. I'm going to move a keyframe forward or two. I'm going to increase the end value. And I'm going to move the keyframe forward a little bit. And I'm going to increase the start value. And a few more keyframes forward. And increase the end value. All right. So now we have two different shapes being animated at the same time. All right, let's go ahead and click on these keyframes. Let's right click, keyframe assistance, easy ease in. All right, and let's come back to 0 and let's hit the space bar. Here we have line and shape animations at the same time. All right, so cool thing about trim paths is no matter if you just say you alter the shape of a layer, right? You alter the shape. And let's see here. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so I want to alter the shape of a layer. So I'm going to come click on the pen tool and I want to alter the shape, right? I want to alter the shape, maybe add a couple points here, a couple points there, bring this down here, take this up here, bring this all the way down here, bring this over here, right? So watch what happens with my pathway, trim pathways. Here we go. It'll still follow the pathway of the pen tool. All right. Once the pen tool creates that mask, no matter how you alter it, the trim path will always follow the mask outline. All right. The presets and the keyframes that you set. So go ahead and practice, play around with it, enjoy. This is just the beginning of content creation. See you at the next tutorial.